Hiya, so I'm here for a recon on this one. So I'm going to be doing a video of the all 30 systems, because that's how many valves there are on this. There's two suction tanks, quite big. That one, and this one at the back here. So the first thing you do, and I'm only doing this video for anybody that was to come after me, if I retire or something like that, this will be helpful to them. So once you've signed in, you've done your permit, and then you're granted permission to work on the system, you will need to shut this. At the moment it's closed. I did it much earlier. Once that's closed and the pumps then run, there's no chance of any of the tanks overflowing. Sometimes we found that if it was left open and we started to do our test on the site, one of the tanks would spill over, and we didn't want that. So by closing that, and that's the suction that goes off into the pump house, it's just a suction valve, but you've got the other one fully open and this one closed, and it just lessens the chance of an overflow on the tank. So if I just collect my stuff now, you can walk with me and I'll just show you half the site for now. Right, so I normally, after I do that, this is system 1 to 9, sorry, 1 to 8, and they're FM systems, and that's why you'll see that the isolation valves are on the outside, factory mutual, they like it that way. Now, you used to be able to get in that door, but you can't now, so unfortunately I have to walk around the perimeter and go in the transport door, which I can do because I have a swipe to get in. You won't get in without that. Some swipes will only let you in certain areas, but a core contractor who does this regularly needs a swipe that will get him into most of the areas. So I walk around the perimeter. There's a lot of walking, I tell you, on this test and inspection job. I'm not going to say which one this is just yet. I'll probably put it in the heading later, or do two videos, one for YouTube and one for my company. I think that might be the easiest way of doing this. Right, so what you see here are the discharge pipe work off the end of the line test valves, which the insurance like to see done. The idea is you open up the test valve, you count to see when the pump comes in and what alarms are achieved, and ideally it has to be done within 30 seconds, which it always is, because they're quite big outlets, so it never takes that long really to achieve what you need to achieve. I'm still walking along the perimeter, and we're almost at the end of this one, and right on the end of the corner here is another bank of valves, and this is where you'll find 9 to 15, consisting of 8-inch systems and 6-inch systems, all in a row, nice and bonny. So as we come round this corner now, you'll get a glimpse of them. Okay, so this I've just done a test about half an hour ago, and you can see that there's a very minor drip, but that should stop within another half hour. If not, I will give the valves a fresh tighten. So there you go, they're all in a row on the exterior FM systems. Sometimes when there's a problem, I'll have to come out here and close down one of these, and then shut down the delivery, open up the bypass if I need to work on the valve itself. If I don't need to work on the valve and I need to drain the system, you just come down here, close this, open up the 2-inch drain valve. That's the quickest way of doing it. Right, so I've got inside the building now, so I've got to swipe this. There we go. That lets me into this part. And as we come round here, sometimes that door is shut, but as you approach it, it opens like that. I'm just going to swap hands. So you know that cluster of FM isolation valves that I just showed you then, all of them in a row? Well, they belong internally to these that are on the left just up, and I just about half an hour ago I tested all these and everything worked that should work. So this is the cluster internally. So you've got 9 to 15. Pretty cool. And you must make sure you always sign the service stickers. How they like to see those service stickers signed, the insurance. If they come here and they don't see a signature on it, they might think it's not being tested, so please get in the habit, if you're working on these systems, to always sign them. And so this video will take you from system 1 to 15. Right, so my starting point after I put all the isolations is down here, once at number 8. As I said, consisting of wet systems 8-inch and 6-inch. So I always come down this way. I'll be able to show you the end of the line test valves up here that you could see the pipe work to outside before earlier. So also, I suppose you can purge them from there as well if you need to. If we get a leak on one of the mezzes up there, you drain it from the main valve, but you might also need to purge it from the end of the line test valve, you know, just to be added security. So about the halfway mark, I tell you, there's a lot of walking in these giant warehouses. So just here now, we will see everything marked up. So these are your test connections. Okay, so they're tested. And you have to have a designated period of time to achieve your objective with these, which always happens. They're bound to, aren't they, because it's such large diameter test valves. So it never takes that long. And you're allowed up to 30 seconds, I believe. But I normally put down 20 seconds when I'm testing these. It's a nice, comfortable test. But you do have to be careful that the water doesn't come into the building, which it will if one of the exterior discharge pipes is facing towards the door. It can come in. You don't want that, but it can happen, and it has. So what I'll do is I'll just pause it for now. Right, so we're going towards systems 1 to 8. It's a long walk. They're just so big, these super warehouses. I believe some of the Amazon ones are even bigger than this, because this is not an Amazon one, but it is a giant retailer, and it is one of their main DCs. Sometimes when you're testing, you will come across the odd little problem, maybe a gland's leaking. So I always make a note of that with my pad here. Sometimes it's on my iPad. Today I'm going to transfer it later. It's just a lot easier. So this is the starting point. I always start here. I always sign all the stickers. I make a note of all the times it takes for the bell to ring, the pumps to come in. That's essential. And then from there I go back down the corridor to where we've just been, 8 to 15. So that's half of the site, people, half of this particular testing site. So it consists of 30 systems, and we've just done half. This is about the halfway mark. So that way is what we've just done. Systems 1 to 15. And that way is the rest of the site. So on this back wall, right down here, we'll find another cluster of valves. We're going to go and do them, and that will bring the pumps in, and we'll achieve all the alarms we need to achieve, and we'll be tested to make sure that all the hydraulic alarm gongs work, which is essential. That's really what you want. Occasionally, sometimes the filters will block, or you'll spring a leak, and when that happens, you put it in your report and you arrange to have it repaired. Sometimes it's going to take a day. You're going to have to quote for it. put a quotation in. Right, I don't know if you can see it, right in the distance there, all that vertical pipework dropping down, but that's where we're going. It's the next cluster of valves. Now sometimes if I've got a lot to do, I do this over 2 days. 1 to 15 on the first day. Then I have to write into the report. It takes a while to do the report, nearly 2 hours sometimes. And I've not yet started that. Now it's a bit dark in this area, but maybe the lights will come on as we get closer. Right, okay, there is a light that's just come on then. So this is the next cluster. Plus they added some about a year ago, just down here. So I'm going to do all this left side, and then the last lot is right on the bottom end. Might have to do them tomorrow. So I'm going to be doing these today. And the test valves and test lines, they're on the back wall on the left hand side. So let's whip back down here now. Yeah, the lights are coming on now. That's REM in the background. What a group REM were. I was a huge fan of REM. I thought that Michael Stipe was an amazing frontman for a band. I hope they do Glastonbury again soon, I really do. Because it's overdue. Right, we're going to do these and get them all signed up. That's my signature there, MS. PPM, pre-planned maintenance. Last done in August. So they're just about due. It should be done every 3 months, so you could say arguably it might be November, but we're virtually there, aren't we? Okay, so what we'll do, we'll actually do a test. So you open that. Up to now all the bells have been working. The pumps are already in. The pumps came in on the first test. Close that down, the bell stops. So I just thought I'd do one test with you. You may as well see what's involved. It is quite simple if you don't have any problems. Just occasionally you will get some. What's likely to happen is over time is you'll get leaks on that discharge pipe work off the hydraulic alarm gong, which is up there. See that there at the back? That's the gong. That goes to drain. And you do get occasional leaks, and you sort them when you can. It's only going to take a little while. You do it while you're doing your normal routine, but if it's more in depth you might have to quote for it. Right, so this is the final bank of the 30. So that walk from that last cluster takes about a couple of minutes to get round. You've got to follow the pedestrian route. Don't be tempted to cut down any of the narrow aisles. You will get thrown off site for that. Just don't do it. Don't think, oh, I'm just going to cut down here, I could save myself some time. Don't go down those narrow aisles there. That is a definite no-no and probably a red card offence. I've known people to be thrown off site for doing that. Don't be tempted. So this is the final cluster. And I usually do this in 2 days because, like I say, it can take 2 hours to do all the paperwork correctly. And I've got the pump test to do, so you need to break it up. So this is what we'll be doing next. And that consists of 19 to 26. 27 is back there. And 28 and 29 is back there on the left hand wall, and number 30 is a deluge valve, and that's up there, and I'll show you that later. Right, I'll show you this deluge valve while I'm here because it's a bit closer to the pump house, and as soon as I show you this I can go and stop the pumps, because 2 pumps will be in at the moment, and they've recently had 1 pump revamped. They've got a new controller panel on it. So this is the deluge valve, this one here. I know you think it looks complicated, but that's the quick release. If you're doing a bell test on it, you draw water from underneath it, and if you're tripping it, you can shut down the bottom isolation valve. You've got a top isolation valve, so you can trip within here and you can reset within here. It's got a priming valve there, so that water there is known as an application valve, priming valve, and it puts the desired pressure on the pin to hold it down so that you can then reopen this. It's a bit dusty at the moment here. Probably needs a good feather dusting. Just something you never do, isn't it? You never go around with a feather duster on your sprinkler valves and just give them a brush down. Maybe I better start doing it, because you know, it looks better, doesn't it, when there's no dust on it. And that's all 30 systems, people. Oh yeah, people, I forgot to mention, on this site you also do hydrant testing, and I have a digital flow meter. So is it June or July, something like that, I lift these covers. It's good to see that they're painted yellow. It's very helpful if you can see them painted yellow. And I put the digital flow meter on there for a designated period of time to get flow. And sometimes if the town's main's been reduced, you get very low flow. But it's around about 2 bar. If you get massive drop off, then you just know that they're not fit for purpose. So there's about 15 of them I do. Yeah, and it's always a good idea to stay within the pedestrian route. I know just then I veered off there, but there was no traffic and there was no shunting going on, so it was safe enough, and I needed to just show you. But this next one is just here. So sometimes I bring my van and I park my van here, and it acts as a barricade, put the hazards on, so when I'm testing no one's likely to bump into me. Got to keep it nice and safe. At the end of the day, you know, you don't want any accidents. And sometimes a simple routine that you've been doing so many times in the past, that sometimes can lend itself to a mishap, and that's sometimes because you get used to a certain way of doing things and you don't want to let complacency come into it. So you need to be really vigilant all the time. Places like this, they've got traffic coming and going, shunting here and there. So what we're doing now, people, is we're going back to the pump house, because those pumps will be running. So when we get down there, I'll show you that those pumps are still running. And what I normally do is I have a quick check here to make sure we've not got a sustained drip on the outlet pipe, which we don't. That's a pretty successful test. So here we go, peeps. It's that bloody long walk again. Bloody hell. It's a good job I've got long legs like a flipping giraffe. Like Peter Crouch. Or Steve Cram. Yeah, Steve Cram, he had long legs, didn't he? The 1500 metre runner from Jarrow. Yeah, so like I say, we'll get down here, the pumps will be running, and to stop the pumps, because they are in automatic operations at the moment, and with them being in automatic operations, it means that if you drop in the pressure from an extremity point on a valve away from them, then what will happen is the jockey comes in first. Of course, if you're discharging a lot of water, you overcome the jockey, and then that brings in the primary pump and then the secondary pump. Sometimes only one pump will come in if you put it into like a hand operation on one of them and you leave the other on automatic, then you'll just have one pump coming in. But if you leave them both in automatic, then likely we'll get down here and we'll find that both pumps are in, which is what happened earlier. I tell you what though, in the heat of summer, walking here, out here, when the sun is blaring down, really gets to you. So you must make sure you drink plenty of water. Don't make the mistake I made when I was doing the overhaul on the 30 valves and I just wasn't drinking any water, and I dehydrated, and I thought, oh heck, and I started palpitating. I thought, oh no, I'm gonna have to ring an ambulance. Luckily I didn't have to ring an ambulance, and I realized it was dehydration and I wasn't having a stroke, because you can panic sometimes when something like that happens. You don't want to let that happen to you, so make sure you hydrate yourself quite regularly. You probably can hear that high-pitched noise now. That's the sound of the diesel pumps running. So we'll just walk into the pump house now and I'll show you. Okay, so we're in the pump house. Both pumps are off. What I normally tend to do is, this is the make-up pump, the jockey pump if you like, with a transducer. I just like to hear this flick in and out, like that. And when I've heard that at the end of a test, I always feel very confident. Now later on, I'm going to be flow testing these through that line there. 8-inch test return, and recording the calculations in US gallons and litres per minute. I might put both down today, but sometimes you can convert it if you know what you're doing. Alright peeps, I'll see you for now.